This play is sponsored by the California Civil Liberties Public Education Program, a state-funded grant project of the California State Library.
Incident at Vichy by Arthur Miller, starring Raphael Sbarge, Lawrence Pressman, Gregory Itzin, Arye Gross, and John Matthews. Directed by Richard Masur. Recorded before an audience by LA Theatre Works. In a small, dark room, 9 men are assembled under a shadowy pretext. As the tension builds, the men are questioned. Are they the sort of people whom the new Nazi regime considers inferior? And now, Incident at Vichy by Arthur Miller.
Mon beau petit bout de chou de rien du tout, Mimi, est-ce que tu m'aimes? Mimi, mon tout petit roudoudou d'un sou, je t'aime plus que moi-même.
A cup of coffee would be nice. Even a sip.
Shh.
Excuse me.
What?
Have you got any idea what's going on?
No, I was just walking down the street.
Me too. Something told me, don't go out today. So I went out. Weeks go by, and I don't open the door. Today, I go out. And I had no reason. I wasn't even going anywhere. They get picked up the same way.
I don't know. I've only been here a couple of minutes myself, just before they brought you in.
Does anybody know anything?
Shh. No.
This isn't a police station, is it?
It doesn't seem so. It's just some building they're using, I suppose.
Painted like a police station, though. And there must be an international police paint. They're always the same color everywhere. Like dead clams, and a little yellow mixed in. You begin wishing you'd committed a crime, don't you? Something definite.
Just try to sit still. It's no good getting excited. We'll find out soon.
It's just that I haven't eaten since 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Everything gets more vivid when you're hungry. You ever notice that?
I'd give you something, but I forgot my lunch this morning. Matter of fact, I was just turning back to get it when they came up alongside me. Look, why don't you try to sit back and calm down?
I'm nervous. I'm nervous anyway. I was even nervous before the war. Excuse me. Monsieur? Psst. Is that the way they picked you up? On the street? Monsieur? Well, Jesus, pardon me for living.
It's perfectly obvious they're making a routine identification checkup.
Oh?
With so many strangers pouring into Vichy this past year, there were probably a lot of spies and God knows what. It's just a checkup on our papers, that's all.
And you?
Huh?
You think so too?
I don't know.
Why? There are thousands of people running around with false papers. We all know that. You can't permit such things in wartime. Especially now, with the Germans starting to take over down here, you have to expect things to be more strict. It's inevitable.
So, you don't get any special flavor, huh?
What flavor?
Well, like some racial implication, for instance.
I don't see anything to fear if your papers are all right.
Listen.
What?
You are Peruvian, aren't you?
What's the matter with you asking questions like that?
What am I supposed to do? Sit here like a dumb beast?
Look, friend, it's no good getting hysterical.
I think we've had it. I think all the Peruvians have had it in Vichy. In 1939, I had an American visa. Before the invasion, I actually had it in my hand.
Calm down. This may all be routine.
Listen.
What?
Do you think he's
him? I don't know. Maybe he's not.
What about you?
Will you stop asking idiotic questions? You're making yourself ridiculous.
I am ridiculous, aren't you? In 1939, we were all packed up for America. Suddenly, my mother wouldn't leave the furniture. Now, I am here because of a brass bed and some fourth-rate crockery and a stubborn, ignorant woman.
Okay, but it's not all that simple. You should try to think of why things happen. It helps to know the meaning of one's suffering.
What meaning? If my mother had...
It's not your mother. The monopoly's got control of Germany. Big business is out to make slaves of everyone. That's why you're here.
Well, I am not a philosopher, but I know my mother, and that's why I'm here. You are like people who look at my paintings. What does this mean? What does that mean? Look at it. Don't ask what it means. You're not God. You can't tell what anything means. Now, I am walking down the street before a car pulls up beside me. A man gets out and measures my nose. They measure my nose, my ears, my mouth. The next thing, I'm sitting in a police station or whatever the hell this damn place is, and in the middle of Europe, the highest peak of civilization, and you know what it means? After the Romans and the Greeks and the Renaissance, and you know what it means.
You're talking utter confusion.
Because I am utterly confused. God damn it! I want some coffee!
Shh, you there! Be seated!
Oh, excuse me, officer. Is there a telephone one can use? I have an appointment at 11 o'clock and it's
No,
quite...
sit down!
Excuse me.
Isn't it marvelous? Isn't it wonderful? The man is probably on his way to work in a German coal mine, and he's worried about breaking an appointment. And people want realistic painting. You see what I mean? Look, did they measure your nose? Could you at least tell me that?
No. They just stopped me and asked for my papers. I showed them, and they took me in.
I agree with you, monsieur.
Thank you.
Vichy must be full of counterfeit papers, huh? I think as soon as they start, it shouldn't take long. You, monsieur, try to settle down.
Did they measure your nose?
I think it would be best if we all kept quiet.
What is it, my clothes? How do you know I might be the greatest painter in France?
For your sake, I hope you are.
What a crew. I mean, the animosity.
You would think, though, that with the manpower shortage, they'd economize on personnel. In the car that stopped me, there was a driver, 2 French detectives, and a German official of some kind. They could easily have put a notice in the paper. Everyone would have come here to present his documents. This way, it's a waste of a whole morning. Never mind the embarrassment.
Embarrassment? No, I am not embarrassed. I'm scared to death. Are you embarrassed?
Look, if you can't be serious, just leave me alone.
Gypsy. Psst. Hey! Are you a gypsy?
Gypsy.
Huh, there. You see? Gypsies never have papers. Why did they bother him?
In his case, it might be some other reason. He probably stole that pot.
No, I find pots on the pavement. I mend, make nice. I sit down to mend. Come police.
Yes, but of course they'll tell you anything. Right?
Well, that is a hell of a thing to say to him. Would you say that to a man with a crease in his trousers?
Oh, they don't mind. In fact, they're proud of stealing. Aren't you?
No, no steal.
I've got a place in the country where they come every summer. I like them personally, especially the music. We often listen to them around their campfires. Day, 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 day. Hey, hey, hey. Yes. But they'll steal the eyes out of your head, right?
Day, 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 day.
Why shouldn't he steal? How'd you get your money?
I happen to be in business.
So, what have you got against stealing?
Are you trying to provoke somebody? Is that it?
Ooh, another businessman.
I happen to be an electrician, but a certain amount of solidarity wouldn't hurt right now.
How about some solidarity with gypsies, just because they don't work 9 to 5?
Hey, I'm a waiter at the Café. I know this one. I've made him go away 100 times. He and his wife stand outside the Café with a baby. And they beg. It's not even their baby.
So what? At least they've got a little imagination.
Yes, but they keep whining to the customers through the shrubbery. People don't like it.
You know, you all remind me of my father. Always worshiped the hard-working Germans, and now you hear it all over France. We have to learn how to work like the Germans. Good God. Don't you ever read history? Whenever a people starts to work hard, watch out. They're going to kill somebody.
That depends on how production is organized. If it's for private profit, yes, but...
What are you talking about? When did the Russians start getting dangerous? When they learned how to work. Look at the Germans. For 1,000 years, peaceful, disorganized people. They start working and they're on everybody's back. I mean, nobody's afraid of the Africans, are they? Because they don't work. Read the Bible. Work is a curse. You are not supposed to worship work.
And how do you propose to produce anything?
Well, that's the problem.
Yes, well,
What's so funny? That is the problem, yes. To work without making work a god. What kind of crew is this?
Ah, good morning, Major.
Good morning.
You know him? Know him? I serve him breakfast every morning. Tell you the truth, he's really not a bad fellow. Regular army, see? Not one of these SS bastards. Got wounded somewhere, so they stuck him back here. Only came about a month ago, but he...
Yes. Excuse me, Major. I hate to trouble you, but I would be much obliged if I could use a telephone for 1 minute. In fact, it's business connected to the food supply. I'm the manager...
I'm not in charge of this procedure. You have to speak to the captain of police.
I beg your pardon.
He's really not a bad fellow. He even comes at night sometimes. You want to hear him play the piano. Gives himself French lessons out of a book. Always has a few nice words to say, too.
Does he know that you're a Peruvian?
Don't discuss that here, for God's sake. What's the matter with you?
Can I at least find out what's going on? If it's a general identity check, it's one thing. But if...
I want some answers here.
I don't understand what's happening here. Please, could you tell me?
Sit down, old man. And you, over here. And you,
Yes.
don't give me any more trouble now.
Sir, I must ask the reason for this. I'm a combat officer, captain in the French army. There is no authority to arrest me in French territory. The occupation has not revoked French law in southern France.
Sit down.
You think you can carry on now?
We got the idea, Professor. There's certain neighborhoods they head for when they run away from Paris or wherever they come from. I can get you as many as you can handle. It's a question of knowing the districts, you see. In my opinion, you've got at least a couple of thousand more in Vichy on false papers.
You go ahead, then.
Saint-Père?
Yes, sir?
Try to avoid taking anybody out of a crowd. Just cruise around the way we did before. Take them one at a time. We don't want to alarm people.
Yes, sir.
I'm just about to order coffee. Will you have some, Professor?
Please.
Oh, I believe I am first, sir.
Yes. This way.
Oh, thank you. I'm in a dreadful hurry. I was on my way to the Ministry
Major,
of Supply. In fact...
Excuse me, Major. It was, Amiens. Am I correct?
Amiens. What about Amiens?
July 9th, 1940. I was in the 16th Artillery facing you. I recognized your insignia, which, of course, I could hardly forget.
That was a bad day for you fellows.
Yes, it was. And evidently for you, too.
Yes, I do have a limp, but I can't complain.
I told you he was all right. You'll see.
What's this all about?
It seems they're checking on identification papers.
What's the procedure?
They've just started. That businessman was the first.
They measured your noses?
What? I beg your pardon?
What, measure noses?
Yeah, they measured my nose right there on the street. No, I'll tell you what I think. With your permission.
I don't mind you talking as long as you're serious.
I think it's to carry stones. It just occurred to me. Last Monday, a girl I know came up from Marseille. The road is full of detours. They probably need workers. There was a crowd of people, hundreds, just carrying stones. She thought a lot of them were Jewish.
I never heard of forced labor in the Vichy zone. Is that going on here?
Where do you come from?
I live in the country. I don't get to town very often. There's been no forced labor decree, has there?
Okay, now listen. I'm going to tell you all something, but I don't want anybody quoting me. Is that understood?
Yes.
You hear what I said?
Don't make me out some kind of idiot. I know it's serious.
I work on the railway here, in the marshalling yards. We took in an express freight train yesterday, 50 cars or more. The engine driver was Polish, so I couldn't talk to him, but one of the signalmen said he heard people inside.
Inside the cars?
Yes. It came from Toulouse. I heard there's been a quiet roundup of Jews in Toulouse the last couple of weeks. And what's a Polish engine driver doing on a train in southern France? You understand?
Concentration camp.
Why? A lot of people have been volunteering for work in Germany. That's no secret. They're doubling the ration for anybody who goes.
The cars are locked on the outside. And they stink. You can smell the stench 100 yards away. Babies are crying inside. You can hear them. And women. They don't look volunteers in like that. I never heard of it.
But I've never heard of them applying the racial laws down here. It's still French territory, regardless of the occupation. They've made a big point of that.
Well, that gypsy, it bothers me.
Why?
They're in the same category of the racial laws. Inferior.
Unless he really did steal that pot.
Well, yes, if he stole the pot, then of course he'd be guilty.
Gypsy! Hey, listen. You steal that pot? You did, didn't you?
No steal, no.
Look, I've got nothing against stealing. I'm not one of these types. I've slept in parked cars under bridges. I mean, to me, all property is theft anyway, so I've got no prejudice against you.
No steal.
Look! I mean, you're a gypsy, so how else can you live, right?
He steals everything.
You hear? He's probably in for stealing, that's all.
Never steal. I do tricks. Acrobat.
Excuse me. Have you all been arrested for being Jewish? I'm terribly sorry. I had no idea.
I said nothing about being Jewish. As far as I know, nobody here is Jewish.
I'm terribly sorry. It's only that I was buying a newspaper, and this gentleman came out of a car and told me I must have my documents checked. I had no idea.
So?
Yeah.
What'd they grab him for?
I don't understand it. But take my advice. If anything like that happens and you find yourself on that train, there are 4 bolts halfway up the doors on the inside. Try to pick up a nail or a screwdriver, even a sharp stone. You can chisel the wood out around those bolts, and the doors will open. I warn you, don't believe anything they tell you. I've heard they're working Jews to death in the Polish camps.
Really? No. I happen to have a cousin. They sent him to Auschwitz. That's in Poland, you know?
Yeah.
I have several letters from him saying that he's fine. They've even taught him bricklaying.
Look, pal, Well, I'm telling you what I heard from people who know. People who make it their business to know, you understand? Now, don't listen to any stories about resettlement or that they're going to teach you a trade or something. Wherever that trade is going, get out before it gets there.
I've heard the same thing. Are there any tools around here that we could...
This is so typical. We're in the French zone. Nobody has said one word to us, and we're already on a train for a concentration camp where we'll be dead in 1 year.
But if the engine driver is a Pole...
All right, he's a Pole. So what does that prove?
All I'm saying is that if you have some kind of tool...
I think what this man says should be taken seriously.
In my opinion, you're hysterical. I mean, after all, they were picking up Jews in Germany for years before the war. They've been doing it in Paris since they came in. Are you telling me all those people are dead? Is it really conceivable to you? War is war, but you still have to keep a certain sense of proportion. I mean, Germans are still people.
I don't speak this way because they're Germans.
It's because they're fascists.
Excuse me. No, it's simply because they're people that I speak this way.
I don't agree with that.
You must have had a peculiar life, is all I can say. I happen to have acted in Germany. I know the German people.
Well, I studied in Germany for 5 years. I took my degree in Austria, and
In Austria? Where?
The medical school in Vienna. The Psychoanalytic Institute.
Really?
Well, no wonder you're so pessimistic. He's a psychiatrist.
Where did you live? I am Viennese.
Excuse me, I think it is better not to speak too much in detail.
Oh, terribly sorry. Yes, of course. I was only curious to know if you were acquainted with Baron Kessler. He was very interested in the medical school.
Well, of course, I've heard of him, but I was never in that circle.
Oh, he is very easygoing, very approachable. He is my cousin.
You're a nobleman?
Yes.
May I ask your name?
Wilhelm Johann von Berg.
Prince von Berg?
Yes. Oh, forgive me, have we met?
Oh, no. But naturally, I've heard your name. I believe it's one of the oldest houses in Austria.
Oh, that's of no importance anymore.
Now, what the hell would they want with an Austrian prince? I mean, you're Catholic, right?
Yes, I am.
But is your title on your papers?
On my passport, yes.
I told you, it's a general checkup on documents.
Were you political or something?
No, I never had any interest in that direction.
There you are, then.
Of course, there is this resentment of the aristocracy. That might explain it.
In the Nazis, resentment?
Yes, certainly.
Really, I've never been aware of that.
Oh, I assure you.
But on what ground?
You're not asking that seriously.
Well, don't be offended. I suppose our experience has been a bit different. I have taken for granted that the aristocracy is always behind a reactionary regime.
A few individuals, certainly, but not people with a sense of their responsibilities.
Oh, that interests me. So you still take seriously the title and...
It is not a title. It is my name, my family. Just as you have a name and a family. And you are not inclined to dishonor them, I presume?
Well, that's good to hear. And by responsibility, you mean to suppose...
Oh, I don't know, whatever that means.
Please, forgive me. I'm simply ignorant of your situation. It should have been obvious. They would want to destroy whatever power you have.
Oh, no, I have no power. And if I did, it would be a day's work for them to destroy it. That's not the issue.
Well, what is it then? And believe me, I'm not being critical. Quite the contrary.
But these are obvious answers. I have a certain standing. My name is 1,000 years old, and they know the disadvantage of someone like me is perhaps not vulgar enough.
And by vulgar, you mean...
Well, don't you think Nazism, whatever else it may be, is an outburst of vulgarity, an ocean of vulgarity?
I'm afraid it's a lot more than that, believe you me.
I'm sure it is, yes.
You make it sound like they have had bad table manners, that's all.
They certainly do, yes. Nothing angers them more than a sign of any delicacy. It is decadent, you see.
Are you trying to tell me you left Austria because of their table manners?
Table manners, yes. And their adoration of dreadful art, and grocery clerks in uniforms telling the orchestra what music it may not play. Vulgarity can be enough to drive a man out of his country. Yes, I think so.
In other words, if they had good taste in art and elegant table manners and let the orchestra play whatever it liked, they'd be all right with you.
But how would that be possible? Can people with respect for art go about hounding Jews, making a prison of Europe, pushing themselves forward as a race of policemen and brutes? Is that possible for artistic people?
I would like to agree with you, Prince von Berg, but I have to say that the German audiences, I've played there, no audience is as sensitive to the smallest nuance of a performance. They sit in a theater with respect, like in a church. And nobody listens to music like a German. Don't you think so? It's a passion with them.
I'm afraid that is true, yes. I don't know what to say.
Perhaps it isn't that kind of person who's involved in this.
Oh, I'm afraid I know many cultured people who did become Nazis. Yes, they did. Art is perhaps no defense against this. It's curious how one takes certain ideas for granted. Until this moment, I had thought of art as a... You, sir?
Yes.
You may be right. I don't understand very much about it.
Were you connected with the medical school?
I? Oh, no. I'm essentially a musician in an amateur way, of course.
All right, you can go now.
Thank you very much.
Sorry you've been troubled.
Oh, that's perfectly all right. I understand perfectly. Good day, Major. Good day, Captain, Professor. I show the pass at the door.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you.
Will they ask you? Sir?
I could have sworn he was Jewish. Didn't you think so?
Yes, I did. You have papers, don't you?
Oh, sure. I have marvelous papers.
Well, just insist they're valid. Maybe that's what he did.
I wish you'd take a look at them, will you?
I'm no expert.
I'd like your opinion, though. You seem to know what's going on. How do they look to you?
Oh.
Watch out.
Next. You, Gypsy.
Yes.
Come with me. You can leave that pot.
No.
I said leave it there.
Mend, no steal.
Leave it. Go in.
That pot is mine. No touch.
So, what do you think of my documents?
It looks good, as far as I can tell.
That businessman seemed Jewish to me, yeah? Didn't he to you, Doctor?
I have no idea. Jews are not a race. They can look like anybody. You ought to know that.
He just probably had good papers. Because I know people who have papers. I mean, all you have to do is take one look at them and you know the stamps are forged. But I mean, if you've got good papers, right? Well, it's true, though, what the doctor said. My father looks like an Englishman. The trouble is, I took after my mother.
Monsieur?
Yes?
Could you look at my papers?
Oh,
Well, what do you think?
I'm no expert, son. Here. Anyway, don't stand looking at it like that. Put them away. Look, if it's forced labor, they might not take you. You're under 16, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
I think it's a question of one's credibility, huh? That businessman just now, he carried himself with a certain confidence.
Were you serious? They actually measured your nose?
With his fingers. That civilian, they called him Professor. No, I think you're right. It's all a question of your papers. That businessman certainly looked Jewish.
I'm not so sure now.
A minute ago, you were sure. Now, silly.
Well, even if he didn't look Jewish, it only means it really is a general checkup on the whole population.
Hey, that's right, too. Actually, I'm often taken for a Gentile myself. I mean, not that I give a damn, but most of the time, Well, Prince, how about you? They measure your nose?
No, they told me to get into the car, that was all.
Because actually, yours looks bigger than mine.
Will you lay off? Just lay off, will you?
Can't I try to find out what I'm in for?
Did you ever think of anything besides yourself? Just because you're an artist? You people demoralize everybody.
What the hell am I supposed to think of? I mean, who are you thinking of?
Next. You.
Me?
Come inside.
Aha, Captain!
Monsieur Ferrand.
Oh, sorry, Captain. Your coffee.
At last.
Terribly sorry, but for you, I had to make some fresh.
Go inside. Put it on my desk. You. Wait here.
Yes, sir. They seem to be keeping the gypsy.
Excuse me, monsieur.
Yeah.
Would you mind if I made a suggestion?
What?
No, you looked terribly uncertain of yourself when you stood up just now.
Me? Uncertain? You've got the wrong man.
Please. I'm not criticizing you.
Naturally, I'm a little nervous, facing a room full of fascists like this.
Yeah, but that's why one must seem especially self-confident, huh? I'm quite sure that's what got that businessman through so quickly. I've had similar experiences on trains, and even in Paris, when they stopped me several times. The important thing is not to look like a victim, or even to feel like one. They can be very stupid, but they do have a sense for victims. They know when someone has nothing to hide.
But how does one avoid feeling like a victim?
One must create one's own reality in this world. I'm an actor. We do this all the time. The audience, is very sadistic. It looks for your first sign of weakness. So you must try to think of something that makes you feel self-assured. Anything at all. Like the day, perhaps, when your father gave you a compliment, or a teacher was amazed at your cleverness. Any thought that makes you feel valuable. After all, you're trying to create an illusion to make them believe you are who your papers say you are.
I've never heard it put that way. That's exactly the point. We must not play the part they have written for us. That's very wise. You must have great courage.
I'm afraid not. But I have talent instead. One must show them the face of a man who is right, not a man who's suspect and wrong. They sense the difference.
My friend, you're in a bad way if you have to put on an act to feel your rightness. The bourgeoisie sold France. They let in the Nazis to destroy the French working class. Remember the causes of this war, and you've got real confidence.
Excepting that the causes of this war keep changing so often.
Not if you understand the economic and political forces.
But when Germany attacked us, the communists refused to support France, didn't they? They pronounced it an imperialist war. Until the Nazis turned against Russia. Then in one afternoon it all changed into a sacred battle against tyranny. But what confidence can one feel from an understanding that turns upside down in an afternoon?
Okay, look, my friend, without the Red Army standing up to them right this minute, you could forget France for 1,000 years.
I agree, but that does not require an understanding of anything. It's simply faith in the Red Army.
It is faith in the future. And the future is socialist. And that is what I take in there with me. I warn you. I've had experience with these types. You'd better ram a viewpoint up your spine or you'll break in half.
I misunderstood you. You mean it's important not to feel alone, is that it?
None of us is alone. We're members of history. Some of us don't know it, but you'd better learn it for your own preservation.
That we are symbols?
Yes. Why not? Symbols, yes.
And you feel that helps you? Believe me, I am genuinely interested.
It helps me because it's the truth. What am I to them personally? Do they know me? You react personally to this, they'll turn you into an idiot. You can't make sense of this on a personal basis.
I agree, but the difficulty is what can one be if not oneself? For example, the thought of torture or something of that sort.
It frightens me, of course. But they can't torture the future. It's out of their hands. Man was not made to be the slave of big business. Whatever they do, something inside me is laughing because they can't win. Impossible.
So that in a sense it's almost that you aren't here, you personally.
In a sense? Why? What's wrong with that?
Nothing. Right now it may be the best way to hold on to oneself. It's just that normally one tries to experience life, to be in spirit where one's body is. It's hard to be an abstraction.
You think a man can ever be himself in this society? When millions go hungry and a few live like kings and whole races are slaves to the stock market? How can you be yourself in such a world? I put in 10 hours a day for a few francs. I see people who never bend their backs and they own the planet. How can my spirit be where my body is? I'd have to be an ape.
Then where is your spirit?
In the future. In the day when the working class is master of the world. That's my confidence. Not like you, actor. Not some borrowed personality.
But don't you think, excuse me, are not most of the Nazis of the working class?
Well, naturally, with enough propaganda, you can confuse anybody.
I see. But in that case, how can one have such confidence in them?
Who do you have confidence in? The aristocracy?
Very little. But in certain aristocrats, yes. And in certain ordinary people.
Are you telling me that history is a question of certain people? Is any of us an individual to them? Class interest makes history, not individuals.
Yes, that seems to be the trouble.
Facts are not trouble. A human being has to glory in the facts. I warn you, without a viewpoint, you'll be...
But the facts, dear sir, what if the facts are dreadful and will always be dreadful?
So is childbirth,
But a child comes of it. What if nothing will ever come of the facts but endless disaster? Believe me, I am happy to meet a man who is not cynical. Any faith is precious these days. But to give your faith to a class of people is impossible, simply impossible. 99% of the Nazis are ordinary working-class people.
I concede it is possible to propagandize.
But who cannot be propagandized? Isn't that the only point? A few individuals. Don't you think so?
Oh, you're an intelligent man, Prince. Are you seriously telling me that 5, 10, 1,000, 10,000 decent people are all that stand between us and the end of everything? You mean this whole world is going to hang on that thread?
I'm afraid it does seem unlikely.
If I thought that, I wouldn't have the strength to walk through that door. I wouldn't know how to put one foot in front of the other.
Yes, I hadn't really considered it that way. But you really think the working class...
They will destroy fascism because it is against their interest.
But then, isn't it even more of a mystery?
I see no mystery.
But they adore Hitler.
How can you say that? Hitler is the creation of the capitalist class.
But they adore him. My own cook, my gardeners, the people who work in my forest, the chauffeur, the gamekeeper, they are Nazis. I saw it coming over them, their love for this creature. My housekeeper used to dream of him in her bed. She'd serve my breakfast as though a god had slept with her in a dream, burning my toast. I saw this adoration in my own house. That is the dreadful fact. I beg your pardon, but it disturbs me. I admire your faith. All faith, to some degree, is beautiful. But when I know that yours is based on something so untrue, it's terribly disturbing. In any case, I cannot glory in the facts. There is no reassurance there. They adore him, the salt of the earth. Adore him. Strange. If I did not know that most of them they are French, I'd have said they laugh like Germans. I suppose vulgarity has no nation, after all.
Yes, very true, Captain. Good morning, Captain.
Monsieur Ferrand, please. Did you ask about me?
What? What can I do? I told you 50 times to get out of the city. Didn't I? Didn't I?
Tell me. Come on, what? I'm next. What'd he say? It's not to work.
What?
They have furnaces.
What furnaces?
Talk, what is it? My employer, Monsieur Ferrand, he heard the detectives. They came in for coffee just before. People get burned up in furnaces. It's not to work. They burn you up in Poland. All the Jews are burned up.
That's the most fantastic idiocy I've ever heard in my life.
Waiter, as long as you've got real French papers, though, I mean, there's nothing about Jew on my papers.
Going to look at your penis. What?
You.
Me.
You can come now.
I'm a head electrician on the railway, Captain. You may have seen me there. I'm classified first priority war worker.
Inside?
You can check with Transport Minister Diskin.
Are you trying to tell me my business?
No, but we can all use advice from time to time.
Inside.
Right.
Trust a damn policeman to play an accordion at a time like this.
No, that's the patron's son, Maurice. They're starting to serve lunch.
Is that the only guard at the door? If that is the only guard, 3 men could handle him.
I'm afraid I'd only get in your way. I have a weak heart.
You actually believe that, Doctor, about the furnaces?
Oh, I believe it's possible, yes. Would you be willing to try something?
But what good are dead Jews to them? They want free labor. It's senseless. You could say whatever you like, but the Germans are not illogical. There is no conceivable advantage for them in such a thing.
Good God, Ben, you can't be sitting here and still speak of logic and advantages. Is there really a logical explanation for you sitting here? But you're sitting here, aren't you?
But an atrocity like that is beyond belief.
That is exactly the point.
You don't believe it, Prince. You can't tell me you believe such a thing.
I find it the most believable atrocity I have heard.
But why?
Because it is so inconceivably vile. That is their power, to do the inconceivable. It paralyzes the rest of us. But if that is its purpose, it is not the cause. Many times I used to ask my friends, if you love your country, why is it necessary to hate other countries? To be a good German, why must you despise everything that is not German? Until I realized the answer. They do these things not because they are German, but because they are nothing. It is the hallmark of the age. The less you exist, the more important it is to make a clear impression. I can see them discussing it as a kind of a truthfulness. After all, what is self-restraint but hypocrisy? If you despise Jews, the most honest thing is to burn them up. And the fact that it costs money and uses up trains and personnel, this only guarantees the integrity, the purity, the existence of their feelings. They would even tell you that only a Jew would think of the cost. They are poets. They are striving for a new nobility, the nobility of the totally vulgar. Yeah, I believe in this fire. It would prove for all time that they exist, yes, and that they were sincere. You must not calculate these people with some 19th century arithmetic of loss and gain. Their motives are musical, and people are merely sounds they play. And in my opinion, win or lose this war, they have pointed the way to the future. What one used to conceive a human being to be will have no room on this earth. If I were you, I would try anything to escape.
But they arrested you. That German professor is an expert. There is nothing Jewish about you.
I have an accent. I noticed he reacted when I started to speak. It is an Austrian inflection. He may think I am another refugee.
Next. You, waiter. Don't be alarmed. It's only to check your papers. Come on.
No! Halt! Come on, Felix, you know me. Felix, you know my wife will go off her head. Felix, please,
Guard,
you know me.
Take him in the office.
There's nobody at the door.
Go on, I'll take him. Get back to the door.
Get in here, you Jew son of a
Major,
bitch.
please help me, Major.
Stop that,
please.
stop that.
Major, please
On your
help
feet,
me.
get in
Please
there.
help me.
Professor, wouldn't it be much simpler if you just asked them?
As you wish. Are any of you ready to admit right away that you're carrying forged identification papers? So in short, you're all bona fide Frenchmen. Are there any Jews among you? There's the problem, Major. Either we go from house to house investigating everyone's biography, or we make this inspection.
That electrician fellow just now, though, I thought he had a good point. In fact, only this morning in the hospital, while I was waiting my turn for x-ray, another officer, a German officer, a captain, in fact, his dressing gown happened to fall open.
It's entirely possible.
It was unmistakable, Professor.
Let us be clear, Major. The Race Institute does not claim that circumcision is conclusive proof of Jewish blood. The Race Institute recognizes that a small proportion of Gentiles...
I see no reason not to say it. I happen to be myself.
Very well. But I certainly would never mistake you for a Jew, any more than you could mistake a pig for a horse. Science is not capricious. Major, my degree is in racial anthropology. In any case, we can certainly separate the Gentiles by this kind of examination. Eh, Major?
Excuse me. I'll be back in a few minutes. You can carry on without me.
Major, you are in command of this operation. I must insist you take your place beside me.
I think some mistake has been made. I am a line officer. I have no experience with this kind of thing. My training is in engineering and artillery.
We'd better be candid, Major. Are you refusing this assignment?
I am in pain, Professor. They are still removing fragments from my leg. In fact, I understood that I was only filling in here until the SS officer took over. I'm more or less on loan, you see, from the regular army.
But the army is not exempt from carrying out the racial program. My orders come from the top, and my report will go to the top. You understand me?
I do, yes.
Look, now, if you wish to be relieved, I can easily telephone General von Buch.
No, that's all right. I'll be back in a few minutes.
This is bizarre, Major. How long am I supposed to wait for you?
I need a walk. I'm not used to sitting in an office. I see nothing bizarre in it. I am a line officer, and this kind of business takes a little getting used to. What do you find bizarre in it?
Very well.
I'll be back in 10 minutes. You can carry on.
No, I will not continue without you, Major. The Army's responsibility is quite as great as mine here.
I won't be long.
Major. Major?
Captain, we will wait for the Major to return.
Doctor, I'll try it with you. What about you two?
Whatever you say, but I'm so hungry I wouldn't do you much good.
You can walk up to him and start an argument, can't you? Distract his attention and then
You're out of your mind. They'll shoot you down.
Some of us might make it. There's only one guard at the door. The district is full of alleys. You could disappear in 20 yards.
How long would you be free? An hour? And when they catch you, they'll really fill you in.
Please, I've got to get out. I was on my way to the pawn shop. This is my mother's wedding ring. It's all that's left. She's waiting for the money. They have no food in the house to eat.
You take my advice, boy. Don't do anything. They'll let you go.
Like the electrician.
He was obviously a communist, and the waiter irritated the captain.
Look, I'll try
try it with you, but don't expect too much. I'm weak as a chicken. I haven't eaten since yesterday.
It'd be better with another man. The boy is very light, and if you and the boy rush him, I'll get his gun away.
I am not going to risk my life for nothing. That businessman had a Jewish face. You said so yourself.
I did. I thought so. Look, if your papers are good, maybe that's it.
Well, you know yourself the Germans have been moving into the southern zone. You see that they are picking up Jews. A man has just told you that you are marked for destruction.
But they took this man in. A nobleman. Nobody's explained that.
My accent.
Oh, my dear Prince, you're obviously an Austrian of the upper class. I took you for nobility the minute you walked in. It's a general checkup.
Then why would they be looking at penises?
There's no evidence of that.
The waiter's boss
He overheard two French detectives who can't possibly know anything about what happens in Poland. And even if they do that kind of thing, it's not the end either. I had Jew stamped on my passport in Paris. And I was playing Cyrano at the same time.
Really? Cyrano?
Then why'd you leave Paris?
It was an absolutely idiotic accident. I was sharing rooms with another actor, a Gentile, and he kept warning me to get out. They're terribly vicious with Gentiles who help Jews, you know. But naturally, one doesn't just give up a role like that. But finally, I decided to at least get rid of certain books that were on the forbidden list of communistic literature, Sinclair Lewis and Thomas Mann, and even a few things by Engels, which everybody was reading at one time. So we made bundles, and as our rooms were on the 5th floor, we'd take turns going down to the street and just leaving them on benches or in doorways or anywhere at all. It was after midnight, and I was just dropping a bundle into the gutter near the opera when I noticed a man standing in a doorway watching me. At that moment, I realized that I had stamped my name and address in every one of those books.
What did you do?
I started walking and kept going until I got to the unoccupied zone. But in my opinion, if I had done nothing at all, I might still be working.
Listen to me for one moment. I beg you, there is only one man guarding that door. You heard him say so. We may never get another chance like this again.
That's another thing. If it was all that serious, wouldn't they be guarding us more heavily? I mean, that's a point.
Well, that is exactly the point. They are relying on us.
Relying on us?
Yes, to project our own reasonable ideas into each other's heads. It is reasonable that a light guard means the thing is not important. They rely on our own logic to immobilize ourselves.
Oh, really?
Listen to your feelings, not your logic. You've just told us how you went all over Paris advertising the fact that you owned forbidden books.
But I didn't do it purposely.
May I guess that you could no longer stand the strain of remaining in Paris? But you couldn't bear to lose your Cyrano either, so your subconscious broke the logjam. Despite yourself, it forced you into the street and saved your life. Look, rely on what you know, not on what you think. Surely you know the danger here.
I played in Germany. That audience could not burn up actors in a furnace. Prince, you cannot tell me you believe that.
I supported a small orchestra. When the Germans came into Austria, 3 of the players prepared to escape. I convinced them no harm would come to them. I brought them to my castle. We all lived together. The oboist was 20, 21. The heart stopped when he played certain tones. They came for him in the garden. They took him out of his chair. The instrument lay on the lawn like a dead bone. I made certain inquiries. He is dead now. And it was even more terrible. They came and sat down and listened until the rehearsal was over, and then they took him. It is as though they wished to take him at exactly the moment when he was most beautiful. I know how you feel, but I tell you, nothing any longer is forbidden. Nothing.
Will they let you go?
I suppose. If this is all to catch Jews, they will let me go.
Would you take this ring and bring it back to my mother? Number 9, Rue Charlot, top floor. Hirsch, Sarah Hirsch. She has long brown hair. Be sure it's her. She has a little beauty spot on this cheek. There are 2 other families in the apartment, so please be sure it's her.
Come, doctor. Tell me what to do. I'll try to help you. Doctor.
I'm afraid it's helpless.
Why?
The artist says he's weak with hunger, and the boy's like a feather. I wanted to get away, not just be slaughtered. I mean, I live in the country, you see. It's so long since I've talked to anybody. I'm afraid I came here with the wrong assumptions.
If you're trying to bait me, Doctor, you're wasting your time.
Can I ask you something? Are you religious?
Not at all.
Well, then why do you feel this desire to be sacrificed?
I ask you to stop talking to me.
Dear man, you're making a gift of yourself. You are the only able-bodied man here aside from me, and yet you feel no impulse to do something. I mean, where do you get this air of confidence?
I refuse to play a part. I do not fit. Everyone is playing the victim these days. Hopeless, hysterical. They always assume the worst. I have papers. I will present them with a single idea that they must be honored. I think that is what saved that businessman, huh? You accuse us of acting the part the Germans created for us. I think that you are the one who's doing that by acting so desperately.
And if, despite your act, they throw you into a freight car?
I don't think they will.
Well, but if they do, you certainly have enough imagination to visualize that.
In that case, I will have done my best. I know what failure is. It took me a long time to make good. I haven't the personality for leading roles. Everyone said I was crazy to stay in the profession, but I did. And I imposed my idea on others.
In other words, you will create yourself.
Every actor creates himself.
But when they tell you to open your fly, please don't stop now. I am very interested. How do you regard that moment? No, I am incapable of penetrating such passivity. I ask, what is in your mind when you face the command to open your fly? I'm being as impersonal, as scientific as I know how to be. I believe that I am going to be murdered. What do you believe will happen when they point to that spot between your legs?
I have nothing to say to you.
I'll tell you what I'll feel. I'll wish I was him. This prince.
To be someone else.
Yes. To have been arrested by mistake. God. To see them relaxing when they realize I'm innocent.
You feel guilty then?
A little, I suppose. Not for anything I've done, but I don't know why.
For being a Jew, perhaps?
I am not ashamed of being a Jew.
Then why do you feel guilty?
I don't know. Maybe it's that they keep saying such terrible things about us and you can't answer. And after years and years of it, I don't say you believe it, but you do. A little. It's a funny thing. I used to say to my mother and father, just what you're saying. We could have gone to America a month before the war, but they wouldn't leave Paris. Now, she had this brass bed and carpets and draperies and all kinds of trash, just like him with his Cyrano. And I told them, you were doing just what they want you to do, but people won't believe they can be killed. You know? Them with their brass bed and their carpets and their faces.
But do you believe it? It seems to me you don't believe it yourself.
I believe it. They only caught me this morning because I always used to walk in the morning before I sat down to work, and I wanted to do it again. I knew I shouldn't go outside, but you get tired of believing the truth. You get tired of seeing things clearly. No, I always collected my illusions in the morning. I never could paint what I saw, only what I imagined. And this morning, danger or no danger, I just had to get out, to walk around, to see something real, something but the inside of my head. And I hardly turned the corner, and that little schmuck of a scientist got out of the car with his fingers going for my nose. No, I believe I can die. But you can get so tired.
That it's not too bad.
Almost. Yes.
So that one way or the other, with illusions or without them, exhausted or fresh, we have been trained to die. The Jew and the Gentile both.
You're still trying to bait me, Doctor. But if you want to commit suicide, do it alone. Don't involve others. The fact is, there are laws, and every government enforces its laws. And I want it understood that I have nothing to do with any of this talk.
Every government does not have laws condemning people because of their race.
I beg your pardon. The Russians condemn the Jews, and the middle class, the English, have condemned the Irish, Africans, and anybody else they could lay their hands on. The French, the Italians. Every nation has condemned somebody because of his race. Look at the Americans and what they do to the Negroes. The vast majority of mankind is condemned because of its race. What do you advise all these people, huh? Suicide?
What do you advise?
I go on the assumption that if I obey the law with dignity, I will live in peace. I may not like the law, but evidently the majority does, or they would overthrow it. And I'm speaking now of the French majority who outnumber the Germans in this town 50-1. These are French police, don't forget, not Germans. And if by some miracle you did knock out that guard and escape, you'd find yourself in a city where not one person in 1,000 would help you. And it's got nothing to do with being Jewish or not Jewish. It is what the world is. So why don't you just stop insulting others with romantic challenges?
So in short, because the world is indifferent, you will wait calmly and with great dignity to open your fly.
I'll tell you what I think. I think it's people like you who brought this on us. People who give Jews a reputation for subversion and this Talmudic analysis and this everlasting niggling discontent.
Well, then I will tell you that I was wrong before. You didn't advertise your name on those forbidden books in order to find a reason to leave Paris and save yourself. No, it was in order to get yourself caught and be put out of your misery. Your heart is conquered territory.
If we meet again, you will pay for that remark.
Conquered territory. I'm going. Boy, wait. Let go. Prince, will you do it? Will you take the ring to my mother? Number 9, Rue Charlot.
Yes.
Boy, wait a minute. No, listen. I will distract the guard. When I do, you slip by him out the door. If he gives me trouble.
My God, put that knife away.
Shut up. You won't help, so be still. Ready? Ready, boy? Yes, sir. Softly now.
You're out of your mind. Out of your mind.
Ready?
Guard! Hey, guard! Guard, come quick, guard!
What? What is it?
Go, boy, go.
Guard, come quick!
What? Wait, where's the boy? Halt! Halt!
Stab him! Stab him now!
Guard!
Yes, Major.
What is this boy doing by the door?
Sir, this man...
And why are you not at your post?
Sir...
Get back on the door. You foolish, foolish man. It's impossible. There are sentries on both corners. Doctor, I would only like to say that this is as inconceivable to me as it is to you. Can you believe that?
I'd believe it if you shot yourself, and better yet, if you took a few of them with you.
We would all be replaced by tomorrow morning, wouldn't we?
We might get out, though, alive. You could see to that.
They'd find you soon.
Not me.
Why do you deserve to live more than I do?
Because I am incapable of doing what you are doing. I am better for the world than you.
It means nothing to you that I have feelings about this.
Nothing. Whatever. Unless you get us out of here.
And then what? Then what?
I will remember a decent German. An honorable German.
Will that make a difference?
I will love you as long as I live. Will anyone do that now?
That means so much to you. That someone loves you.
That I be worthy of someone's love, yes, and respect.
It's amazing. You don't understand anything. Nothing of that kind is left. Don't you understand that yet?
It's left in me.
There are no persons anymore. Don't you see that? There will never be persons again. What do I care if you love me? Are you out of your mind? What am I, a dog that I must be loved? You damn Jews. Like dogs. Jew dogs. Look at him. Look at the old man with his paws folded. Look at what happens when I yell at him. Dog! He doesn't move. Does he move? Do you see him moving? But we move, don't we? We measure your noses, don't we? And we look at your penises. We keep moving continually.
Major.
Shut up.
Major.
Hands off, you civilian bastard.
Major, I think you'd better come with me.
Not a word, Professor.
Put that gun away. You're drunk!
Everything stops now. Now it has all stopped. Now you tell me. You tell me now nothing is moving. You tell me. Go ahead now.
What shall I tell you?
Tell me how. How there can be persons anymore. I have you at the end of this revolver. Here, Professor, he has me. And somebody has him, and somebody else has somebody else. Now tell me.
I told you.
I won't repeat it. I am a man of honor. What do you make of that? I will not tell them what you tried just now or what you advised me to do. What do you say? Damn decent of me, isn't it? Not to repeat your advice. Were you on active service?
Yes.
No record of subversive activities against the German authority?
No.
If you were released and the others were kept, would you refuse? Would you refuse?
No.
And walk out of that door with a light heart?
I don't know.
Don't hide your hands. I am trying to understand why you are better for this world than me. Why do you hide your trembling hands? Would you go out of that door with a light heart, run to your woman, drink a toast to your skin? Why are you better than anybody else?
I have no duty to make a gift of myself to your sadism.
Ha! But I do. To others' sadism of myself, I have that duty and you do not. To make a gift of myself.
I have nothing to say.
That's better. What are we waiting for, Professor? Next!
Next!
Me?
You.
Yes. Yes. I have my papers right here.
You happy now, Doctor? Now you've made him furious. Are you satisfied?
Next! Next.
Yes. Of course. My panache.
Good morning, Major.
What did he mean?
It is the last line of a play he was in. My panache.
Prince, will you do it? Number 9, Rue Charlot. Please be sure.
I'll be sure.
I'm a minor. I'm not even 15. Does it apply to minors?
You, boy.
Yes, but I'm a minor. I'm not 15 until February.
Inside.
I could get my birth certificate for you.
Inside, inside.
Does the old man realize what is happening?
As much as anyone can, I suppose.
He seems to be watching it all from the stars. Doctor, I wish we could have met under other circumstances. There are a great many things I'd like to have asked you.
I'd appreciate it if you'd do me a favor.
Certainly.
Will you go and tell my wife?
Where is she?
When you get to the main road, go north out of town.
Yes.
After about 2 kilometers, you'll see a small forest on the left and a lane leading up into it. Go down the lane until you see the river. Follow the river upstream to a small mill. They're in a tool shed behind the wheel.
And what shall I say?
That I've been arrested and that there may be a possibility that I... No. No, tell her the truth.
By which you mean?
The furnaces. Tell her that.
But that's only a rumor, isn't it?
I don't regard it as a rumor. It should be known. I never heard it before. It must be known. Just take her aside, because there's no need for the children to hear, but tell her.
Doctor, it would not be easy for me to tell such a thing to a woman.
If it's happening, you can find a way to say it, can't you?
Very well, Doctor, I'll tell her. I have no great facility with women, but I'll do as you say. They're taking rather longer with that boy. Maybe he is too young, you suppose? They would stick to the rules, you know. Perhaps with the shortage of doctors, you suppose... I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I said anything to offend you.
It's all right. It's just that you keep finding these little shreds of hope, and it is a little difficult, to put it mildly.
Yes, I see. I beg your pardon. I understand. Would you like to talk of something else, perhaps? Are you interested in the arts?
It's really quite simple. It's that you'll survive, you see?
But how can you blame me for that?
I don't know how, but I blame you. Yes, that's how it is. I'm sorry.
Doctor, I can promise you, it will not be easy for me to walk out of here.
Well, I'm afraid it will only be difficult because it's so easy.
I think that's unfair.
Well, it doesn't matter.
It does to me. I was very close to suicide in Austria when they murdered my musicians. Oh, not that alone, but when I told the story to many of my friends, there was hardly any reaction. That was almost worse. Can you understand such indifference?
Well, you are really quite astounding. You know that?
But if one gives up one's ideals, what is there? What is left?
You are left. With or without your ideals, you are left.
I'm terribly sorry. I understand.
Of course you do. So why go on about it? Forgive me. I do appreciate your feeling, but it is difficult to listen to sentimentality even if it is well meant.
I had no intention of being sentimental.
Oh, but you must. You will survive. You will have to sentimentalize it just a little, just enough to feel that you've shared this. It's no reflection on you, but it can still make one furious. It's why this agony is so pointless. We are roaches stepped on in the dark, and it can never be a lesson. It can never have a meaning. It will just be repeated again and again forever.
Because it cannot be shared?
Yes, because it cannot be shared. Except to weep and silently thank God that one was spared. How strange. One can even become impatient to get on with it.
Yes.
What devils they are.
Yes, they can make death seductive. It is their worst sin. Doctor, I would like to tell you something. Perhaps you will despise me, but it has weighed on my mind, and I would like to say it to you.
Yes.
I used to dream at night of Hitler in a great flowing cloak, almost like a gown, almost like a woman. He was beautiful. In fact, even now, sometimes as I close my eyes, he comes to me that way. And I have always had such hatred for him. I have kept myself awake some nights to keep from dreaming. I don't understand it. From the beginning, he was contemptible to me.
Why should I despise you? It is not so easy to know who one hates. Listen, don't mention the furnaces to my wife.
I'm so glad you say that. I feel very relieved. It is only a rumor after all.
Yes, of course it is. I don't know what got onto me. Don't mention it, please. You see, she suddenly got a terrible toothache. It went on for days, and I thought I might find some codeine in the city, but it meant exposing myself, and we had such a perfect hideout. And in a way, it was senseless. I knew it when I walked down the road, to be risking so much for a goddamn toothache. I mean, I would never have asked it for myself. I would not have allowed it. So what if she doesn't sleep for a couple of weeks? I knew they would be after the Jews one of these days. I knew it, and she knew it.
Yes, but if one loves someone...
No, we are not in love anymore. It's just too difficult to separate in these times with the children so small.
Oh, how terrible.
Please, don't mention the furnaces, please. God. At a time like this, to think of taking vengeance on her, what scum we are.
Does she have sufficient money?
Well, you could help her that way if you like. Thank you. Listen to me. I want you to tell her that I will find some way to get back, that she is not to worry herself or the children. Tell her that I will try to change everything between us. That she was not altogether at fault, that I have been intolerant and arrogant, and she is not to feel that it was all meaningless. Just say that, can you?
Oh, yes. Oh, do you suppose if I offered that man, that professor, something on your behalf, I can get a hold of a good deal of money? I know so little about people.
You might feel him out, though. Try it.
But he seems rather an idealist. It could infuriate him against me.
I don't know, but you mustn't endanger yourself. It would be stupid.
What shall I do? How upside down everything is, to find oneself wishing for a money-loving cynic.
Oh, why not? Once we've learned the fraud of idealism, haven't we?
But can one really wish for a world without ideals? Is there really nothing? Is that it? For you, there is nothing?
Are you asking me to discuss ideals? What, you dare to speak that word on this planet again? Are you an idiot or a liar?
Next.
Next, you old man. Next. You hear me? Why do you sit there? Come on, old man. Leave that bundle. Leave it. No. Let go of that. What? Feathers?
Yes, Professor. His pillow, it seems.
Come on, old man.
Doctor, I would like to be able to part with your friendship. Is that possible?
Prince, in my profession, one gets the habit of looking at oneself quite impersonally. It is not you that I am angry with. In one part of my mind, it's not even this Nazi. I am only angry that I should have been born before the day when man has accepted his own nature, that we are not reasonable, that he is full of murder, that his ideals are only the little tax he pays for the right to hate and to kill with a clear conscience. I am only angry that knowing this, I still deluded myself, that there was not time to truly make part of myself what I know and to teach others the truth.
There are ideals, Doctor, of another kind. There are people who would find it easier to die than stain one finger with this murder. They exist, I swear it to you. People for whom everything is not permitted. Foolish people and ineffectual, yes, but they do exist and will not dishonor their tradition. Doctor, I ask your friendship.
I owe you the truth, Prince. You won't believe it now, but I wish you would think about it and what it means. I have never analyzed a Gentile who did not have somewhere hidden in his mind a dislike, if not a hatred for the Jews.
That is impossible. It is not true of me.
Until you know it is true of you, you will destroy whatever truth can come of this atrocity. But part of knowing who we are is knowing that we are not someone else. And Jew is only the name we give to that stranger, that agony that we cannot feel, that death that we look at like a cold abstraction. Each man has his Jew. The black, the yellow, the white. It is the other. And the Jews have their Jews. And now, above all, you must see that you have yours. The man whose death leaves you relieved that you are not him, despite your decency. And that is why there is nothing and will be nothing until you face your own complicity with this, your own humanity.
I deny that. I deny it, absolutely. I have never in my life said a word against your people. Is that your implication? That I have something to do with this monstrousness? I have put a pistol to my head. To my head!
I'm sorry, it really doesn't matter.
It matters very much to me. Very much to me.
Prince, you asked me before if I knew your cousin, Baron Kessler.
Yes?
Baron Kessler is a Nazi. He helped to remove all the Jewish doctors from the medical school. You were aware of that, weren't you? You must have heard that at some time or another, didn't you?
Yes. I heard it. I had forgotten it. You see, he was...
Your cousin. I understand. And in any case, it is only a small part of Baron Kessler to you. I do understand it, but it is all of Baron Kessler to me. And when you said his name, it was with love. And I am sure he must be a man of some kindness with whom you can see eye to eye in many things. But when I hear that name, I see a knife. You see now why I say there is nothing and will be nothing when even you cannot really put yourself in my place, even you. That is why your thoughts of suicide do not move me. It's not your guilt I want, it's your responsibility. That might have helped. Yes, if you had understood that Baron Kessler was in part, in some small and frightful part, doing your will, you might have done something then with your standing and your name and your decency aside from shooting yourself.
What can ever save us?
Next, you.
I beg your pardon.
Come.
Don't touch me! Take your hands off!
I beg your pardon.
You see who I am.
Sorry for the inconvenience, monsieur. I do beg your pardon.
Take this.
What?
It is my pass. Say nothing to me. Take it and go. Go. Go.
What will happen to you?
There is nothing to say. Go.
I wasn't asking you to do this. You don't know. You don't owe me this.
It isn't you. Not you at all. Go. 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 Good.
Next. Where is he? Where has he gone? Your pass. Where's your pass? Man escaped! He gave his pass away. Man escaped! Man escaped!
Who let him out? Find that man! Alarm! Sound the alarm!
Your Highness.
Yes, Major?
Why?
What?
Why did you do it? Why?
Le jazz reprend pour nous la valse d'amour. Un grand du roman, et nouvelle saison. D'un armée de bâtiments, un monde
This concludes our presentation of Incident at Vichy by Arthur Miller. The cast in alphabetical order was Ben Diskin as the boy, Arye Gross as Bayard, Jamie Haynes as the gypsy and the police captain, Andrew Hawkes as the major, Gregory Itzin as Monceau, Robert Lesser as Marchand and Ferrand, Richard Masur as the detective, John Matthews as Lebeau, Lawrence Pressman as von Berg, Raphael Sbarge as Leduc, Armin Shimerman as Professor Hoffman, and Shahar Sorek as the waiter. I'm Susan Loewenberg, producing director of LA Theatre Works.